On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad would you say your hospital anxiety is?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I mean, if I'm there, for work, like to work on this show, it's fine. It's nothing. But if I'm there for real, like because I'm sick or I'm there with somebody who's sick, 7, I don't know.
Ooh, I mean, that's not great, but mine breaks the scale. I'm at like a 20 or 30 out of a 10. And by the way, this is Smarter Than Cancer, and I'm Hajar Aldas.
And I'm David Hoffman.
I think for me, it's not just the medical stuff that scares me. Even when I'm there for some other reason, it's still really anxiety driven for me.
So this is a great gig for you then, working on this podcast is what we're learning.
Well, okay, maybe the learning is going to help me ease into it. There's just, I don't know, there's this hospital smell and really harsh lighting, and often the seating is not good. I don't know. The second I walk into a hospital, my entire body just tenses up.
Yeah, everything's linoleum. Like that smell, there's this like cleaning solvent or something that I think is only in hospitals. Like immediately, it's like there's a feeling in the air or something.
Yeah, and some of it is useful, I'm assuming, but I'm learning that it doesn't always have to feel that way. Like, there's this whole field of interior design that specializes in healthcare, and a lot of the principles they learn and are supposed to use, they're kind of antithetical to the traditional hospital we're used to. Like, for example, the use of warmer colors and more soothing imagery. All that stuff can have better results for patients, so I'm kind of surprised that they're not used more often.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you're sick at home, you want to be comfortable. Being comfortable is a
Right.
huge part of being healthy and getting healthy, getting over an illness. Like you would think that hospitals would do better if they were nicer places to be.
Right. And, not all hospitals are the same. Some hospitals are a lot more intentional with their design, and they use evidence-based research to guide their choices. So for this episode, I sat down with some of the people behind the design here at Roswell Park, and they walked me through how they balance aesthetics with functionality, because there's always going to be the functionality aspect at a hospital. But I think you'll be really surprised how even some of the choices that seem aesthetically driven are actually scientifically backed for improving patients' health and well-being. I found it really fascinating that every single detail is considered.
Sounds great. Let's hear it.
When you walk into Roswell Park, there's live music playing in the lobby. And the floors are warm-toned, and the furniture is wood. And the fabrics are mainly earth-toned, like yellows and greens and oranges. And there's artwork hanging everywhere. Not the generic stuff either. It feels curated, like someone thought about the emotions the artwork would evoke.
So Roswell has about 1,800 works in our art collection. It's one of the larger collections of public art in Western New York.
That's William Vogel. He's the art coordinator here at Roswell Park. I spoke to him about why the artworks displayed here are so important.
I think it's really important to have art be a part of your life at all times, but especially when you're dealing with your cancer journey, right? When you're trying to move your way through that. Art can help distract us from the things that are going on around us, whether it's painful or just unpleasant.
Roswell Park even has its own art gallery called the Art Heals Gallery. And they put on 4 shows a year here, featuring works from both local and international artists.
One of my favorites is by an artist who actually worked here. Her name is Ginny O'Brien. And she has multiple pieces in the collection, but she's got one. It's this really dreamy landscape, and it's got this sort of blue and yellow and gold thing going on. It's really interesting. On a sort of more international scope, we have a series of works from the Marine Midland Bank corporate collection. And there are works by Gene Davis, by Alan D'Arcangelo, many other sort of great mid-century printmakers, right, and graphics makers. And I love being able to engage with those works. It's a drop-in space, so you don't need an appointment. You don't have to buy a ticket or anything like that. You just come in, spend a little bit of quiet time. Even the announcements are quieter. The lighting is softer.
Back in 2018, they ran a clinical trial to explore how art could play a role in healing, especially for people recovering from major cancer surgeries, and the results were pretty striking. The patients who spent time with art, they felt more hopeful, less stressed, and they had better overall mental well-being than those who didn't. And of course, art doesn't close a wound or cure cancer, but it does lift the spirit, and it offers a meaningful, positive distraction.
Spending that quiet time in a dedicated space, viewing art and being with art and experiencing it. Taking your mind off of what's going on around you in the hospital was really important. One of the things that's a little different about my job here at Roswell compared to my previous work in the nonprofit world and in the art world is that here we use art as a means. Very often you go to an art museum and art is the end, right? You're going to the museum to look at the art. Here at Roswell, we have the art as a means to help you feel better. It's a tool. Sometimes you go to an art gallery and it's like, well, what is this? But here we try to have things available that are pleasing to everybody, that are sort of universally understood, but that are still sophisticated and still exude excellence in the art.
There is a lot of different research around artwork. Abstracts aren't usually as well received because some people could interpret it as something sad, or it could conjure an image in their mind because it's a little bit more interpretive, whereas opposed to nature has been found in healthcare to be one of the most calming things because it takes you to that space, it takes you to a different environment.
Corinne Soro, who you just heard from, is a certified healthcare interior designer and a senior planner here at Roswell Park.
One beautiful thing about nature is that everybody can relate to it. So I really love nature references as something that brings us together because it's something we all have in common. Also things like materials that have a natural aesthetic. So a wood look floor is much warmer than a white monolithic floor, for example. And warm, less sterile environment certainly help in that very clinical setting. Biomimicry is another thing. So looking at natural patterns that we see, looking at texture, looking at the warm colors that we find in nature, looking at variety in the space, having spaces where you can have calm and respite. There's a lot of positive distraction, which has been proven through research to really help people. Way back in the early 1970s, a gentleman named Roger Ulrich did a study about the view of nature and your improvement in healing when you have that view of nature. And that's something called biophilia. And that's a big buzzword in design now, but it started way back. But here we are today, and we're actually getting more cognizant about person-centered care. And that's one of the things. We don't like to put someone in a blank, scary space. We like to put something that has feeling and really focuses on the person.
Yeah, so how does that look like when you're thinking about more functional spaces in a hospital? Like, for example, an MRI room. How would you use nature in an MRI room?
So I actually have done an entire project using evidence-based design to inform every decision for an MRI. And a lot of MRI procedures can fail because people get claustrophobic, they have anxiety, and so there is a lot of evidence and design in which to do that. So some of the things that can be done, some of them are in the environment and some of them are a little bit procedure, and that part gets a little bit tricky because I'm obviously not a clinician. I just design the environment, so it's sometimes a little bit difficult. But for example, we did a very large image of a nature scene that is wide and it was like a field and it's opening to you. And we did it on the entire wall. So as you're laying in the MRI and you're looking down towards your toes, that entire vast opening space, because MRIs are all about enclosure, right? So we think about that vast opening. Another thing is there's positive distraction that's commonly used. So there are light fixtures that can be put in the ceiling. There's an image of these tree branches and you can see the soft rustling of them and the movement of them. And it looks more like you're in an open space as opposed to the enclosed MRI. MRI. There are other things that a lot of manufacturers have instituted into the design of the actual equipment, like personal choice. That's another thing with environmental stress, is allowing people personal choice and control when they really feel like they have no control whatsoever is so empowering for person-centered design. So doing things like choice of music, some people have choice of colors, and I know that's some offerings that MRI companies for the actual machinery have now. Another thing that I have read research on is having a light breeze blow across people's feet because it doesn't feel like a stale, enclosed area. But these are all design things that have been tested in the field, and those are evidence-based things that can be pushed into the environment to help for a more successful procedure.
Yeah. I love that. So I feel like the patient experience anywhere, really, like there's just a lot of waiting going on. So what are some of the research or evidence-based techniques to, like, help people ease the pain of just waiting around all day?
So one of them, it does definitely deal with the actual process of how people proceed through the space. So that's my planning and space planning hat. So we think about the amount of exam rooms, and that is really a relationship that we establish with the user group to understand what their process is. When you're a designer, you need to sit down and you need to ask, okay, take me through the journey of a patient from start to finish. And not until we fully understand that can we design a space for that. We cannot be prescriptive. We have to understand the true journey to collaboratively work together. And sometimes we offer suggestions in terms of function that they haven't thought of. And other times the user groups talk to us about elements within their process that we never would have thought of that are so vital, where the storage rooms are in proximity to the rooms, and how far people need to walk, and the sight lines from the nurse stations. Yeah, so we think a lot about process and making sure we design to that. We also think about when we do waiting areas, we don't have everybody lined up like a bus stop or a DMV. That's not the desired aesthetic here at Roswell. We have smaller areas where you could have some conversation and it's a little bit more intimate, and we have different choices in areas that we can go.
So when there's, like, in your job, I'm imagining you're balancing functionality, efficiency, and then, like, also the aesthetics of everything.
Absolutely.
How are you thinking through, like, functionality versus aesthetic?
My responsibility as an interior designer is a lot different than what you see on HGTV, which is a very common misnomer. My responsibility is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the physical environment. And so I am very cognizant about how we can clean surfaces to prevent infection. So cleanliness is obviously a huge part here because a lot of people are immunocompromised, and being able to clean something both efficiently for us and to keep people healthy is another big element that we think about that too. The placement of sinks and their proximity to different areas to encourage hand washing, how we can maintain things easily. I think about people slipping on the floors and the danger of materials burning. Should we have transitions between flooring materials, or is someone using an assistive device and could they trip on it? I also think about how spaces make you feel. I place a lot of importance on environmental stress. And when a patient comes here, they are under a lot of stress of diagnosis, stress of how they're currently feeling, and stress of news that may be coming or they just received. So by looking at the environment and peeling away those things that can cause excess stress, whether it's confusing wayfinding or a very cluttered environment, something being taken care of in an exam room that is sterile and stark is much less comforting and off-putting than something that's warmer and has some texture to it and makes you feel a little bit more comfortable in that space.
Can I ask what brought you to this work?
So I grew up very close to my grandparents. I have two full-time working parents. It was such a blessing to me. When I was in high school, they were unfortunately in healthcare facilities with memory-related illnesses. And I realized at that time what a difference the environment makes for people. And there were moments in my experiences with my grandparents where I realized they had glimmers of self in certain settings, what was more fulfilling for them when they had personal choice options, and really realized how that empowers people. And I always think about when I'm designing interior environments, I'm designing it like I would for my own parents, for my children, for my neighbors, for my friends. That's the level that I want to bring to also reflect the level that we have in terms of care here, reflect that in our environment as well, because they should match. We should look like we're cutting edge. We should look like we are as warm as the individuals that interact with you every day here at Roswell.
Thanks for listening to Smarter Than Cancer, a production of Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center.
The show is written and produced by your hosts, Hajar Eldas and David Hoffman.
Production oversight by Peter Sosha.
Additional logistics and support from Michelle Eisenstein.
Our production partner for this series is Citizen.
Post-production by Gregory Schweitzer for DCP Entertainment.
Publication and promotion supervised by Candice Chanteloup. If you or your loved one has been diagnosed with cancer and would like to schedule an appointment with Roswell Park, please call 1-800-ROSWELL. That's 1-800-ROSWELL. Or visit us at roswellpark.org.
If you're enjoying this series, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out and tell us about your cancer story, and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes by filling out the form at roswellpark.org/.
And if you know someone else who might find value in what we're doing, please tell them about it. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.